Before you spend another dollar on scotch, watch this first. Because some of the most famous scotch bottles on the shelf today are seriously overrated, and people keep buying them anyway. In this video, I will show you 5 scotches I would absolutely avoid in 2026 and 3 hidden gems that taste twice as good for the money. If you love scotch, this list might save you hundreds of dollars. Before we start, if you enjoy honest whiskey reviews and real recommendations, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's get into it. 8. Johnnie Walker Red Label. Johnnie Walker Red Label is one of the most widely available Scotch whiskies in the world and is produced by the company Diageo. It is a blended Scotch whiskey made from a mix of grain and malt whiskies sourced from several distilleries across Scotland. The whiskey is bottled at 40% ABV and typically sells in the United States for around $18 to $25, depending on the market. Unlike many Scotch whiskies, Red Label does not carry an age statement, which means the whiskeys in the blend can be quite young. While it is popular because of its low price and strong brand recognition, Johnnie Walker Red Label is generally designed for mixing rather than sipping. The flavor profile is known for being sharp and aggressive with noticeable alcohol burn, light smoke, and a somewhat thin body. Many drinkers also describe a harsh finish and limited complexity compared with other scotches in a similar price range. Because the blend relies heavily on younger grain whiskey, it lacks the depth, richness, and balance that many Scotch fans look for when drinking neat or on the rocks. Another reason many enthusiasts skip Red Label is value. In the same price range, there are several entry-level, single malts, and higher quality blends that offer smoother texture, more balanced flavors, and better overall character. For someone looking to actually enjoy Scotch rather than simply mix it into cocktails, there are far better options available. This is why many experienced whiskey drinkers consider Johnnie Walker Red Label a bottle to avoid when shopping for a satisfying Scotch. 7. Dewar's White Label. Dewar's White Label is a classic blended Scotch that has been on the market since the late 19th century and is currently produced by Bacardi. It is bottled at 40% ABV and usually sells in the United States for around $20 to $28. The blend is said to include up to 40 different malt and grain whiskeys, with whiskey from the Aberfeldy distillery forming part of the core character. Like many budget blends, it does not carry an age statement. Dewar's White Label is often marketed as a smooth and approachable Scotch, but many whiskey drinkers find the flavor profile quite basic. The nose typically offers light honey, grain sweetness, and a touch of apple, but the palate tends to feel thin and somewhat watery. The finish is short and mild, which leaves very little depth or complexity for people who enjoy sipping Scotch slowly. Another drawback is that the whiskey is clearly built for high-volume mixing rather than flavor exploration. When compared with similarly priced bottles, Dewar's White Label often feels overly diluted and lacks the richness that even some affordable single malts can deliver. For Scotch drinkers who want a more interesting experience in the same price range, there are several options that provide stronger character, better balance, and a much more satisfying finish. 6. Cutty Sark Original. Cutty Sark Original is a well-known blended Scotch that has been around since 1923 and is now produced by La Martiniquaise. It is bottled at 40% ABV and is usually priced between $18 and $25 in the United States. The whiskey is a blend of malt and grain whiskies from different distilleries in Scotland, and it does not carry an age statement, which generally indicates that much of the whiskey in the blend is relatively young. Cutty Sark Original is known for having a very light and gentle style. The aroma often shows mild notes of citrus, vanilla, and grain sweetness. However, the palate tends to feel extremely thin, with very little body. Many drinkers notice a simple flavor profile dominated by grain whiskey, with faint hints of honey and soft oak, but very little complexity. The biggest issue for many Scotch fans is that the whiskey feels watered down and lacks character. The finish disappears quickly and leaves almost no lingering flavor. While this makes it easy to mix into cocktails, it also means the whiskey struggles to stand on its own when sipped neat or on the rocks. In a market where many affordable Scotches now offer richer flavor and better balance, Cutty Sark Original often feels outdated and underwhelming compared with modern alternatives. 5. J&B Rare. J&B Rare is a blended Scotch whiskey owned by Diageo. It is bottled at 40% ABV and is widely available in the United States for around $18 to $25. The blend reportedly includes dozens of malt and grain whiskeys, with spirit from the Knockando distillery often considered one of the key components. Like most entry-level blends in this price range, it does not carry an age statement. J&B Rare has a reputation for being extremely light and approachable, but that approachability often comes at the cost of flavor. The aroma typically offers mild grain sweetness, light citrus, and a hint of apple. On the palate, the whiskey can feel very thin with a noticeable grain-forward character. The flavors are simple and somewhat muted, with faint notes of vanilla and soft malt, but very little depth. One reason many Scotch drinkers pass on this bottle is the lack of balance and complexity. The whiskey tends to feel flat and slightly sharp at the same time, which can make it less enjoyable when sipped neat. The finish is short and fades quickly, leaving very little character behind. While J&B Rare works well in cocktails because of its light profile, many people looking for a satisfying Scotch experience find that there are far more flavorful options available at a similar price. 4. The Famous Grouse. The Famous Grouse is one of the best-selling blended Scotch whiskies in Scotland and is produced by the Edrington Group. It is bottled at 40% ABV and typically sells in the United States for around $20 to $30. The blend includes a mix of grain whiskey and malt whiskey from distilleries such as the Macallan and Highland Park, although the exact proportions are not disclosed. Like most budget blends, it does not have an age statement. At first glance, the Famous Grouse seems like a solid everyday Scotch. The nose usually offers light notes of caramel, grain sweetness, and a bit of dried fruit. However, once you taste it, the whiskey often feels quite simple and somewhat flat. The texture is light and the flavors are dominated by sweet grain whiskey with only a small hint of malt character. Many Scotch drinkers find that the whiskey lacks the depth and richness they expect even at this price level. The finish tends to be short and slightly dry, with very little complexity developing as you sip. While it works reasonably well in mixed drinks, it can feel underwhelming when enjoyed neat or on the rocks. So, those are 5 Scotches that many drinkers might want to skip, especially if you are looking for real flavor and value for your money. But the good news is this: not all great Scotch has to be expensive, and some fantastic bottles are still hiding in plain sight on liquor store shelves. In fact, the next 3 Scotches deliver far better balance, richer flavor, and a much more satisfying drinking experience for the price. Let's take a look at 3 hidden gems that are absolutely worth buying. 3. Loch Lomond 12-year-old. Loch Lomond 12-year-old is produced by Loch Lomond Group at the Loch Lomond Distillery in the Highlands of Scotland. This single malt Scotch carries a 12-year age statement and is bottled at 46% ABV, which is higher than many entry-level Scotches. In the United States, it typically sells for around $35 to $45, making it one of the better value single malts in its price range. The whiskey is matured in a combination of American oak, refill, and recharred casks, which helps create a richer and more balanced flavor profile. On the nose, you will usually find notes of green apple, pear, honey, and light citrus. The palate brings more depth with flavors of vanilla, soft oak, toasted cereal, and gentle spice. There is also a subtle hint of smoke that adds character without overpowering the whiskey. One of the reasons Loch Lomond 12-year-old stands out as a hidden gem is the overall balance between flavor and price. Compared with many blended Scotches in a similar range, this bottle offers a fuller body, more complexity, and a longer finish. The higher 46% ABV also gives it a richer mouthfeel and allows the flavors to come through more clearly, whether you drink it neat or with a small splash of water. For Scotch drinkers looking for a well-made and affordable single malt, this bottle delivers excellent value. 2. Arran 10-year-old. Arran 10-year-old is produced by Isle of Arran distillers at the distillery located on the Isle of Arran in Scotland. This single malt carries a 10-year age statement and is bottled at 46% ABV. It is also non-chill filtered and naturally colored, which many whiskey enthusiasts appreciate because it preserves more of the whiskey's natural texture and flavor. In the United States, it usually sells for around $45 to $55. Arran 10-year-old is known for its bright and well-balanced Highland style. On the nose, you will often notice fresh citrus, green apple, honey, and a light touch of vanilla. The palate is richer than many Scotches in this price range, offering flavors of orchard fruit, malt sweetness, gentle oak, and a bit of spice. The texture is smooth, but still full enough to give the whiskey a satisfying mouthfeel. One reason this bottle is often considered a hidden gem is that it delivers the character of a well-crafted single malt, without the inflated price tag seen on many popular Scotch brands today. The balance of fruit, malt, and oak creates a flavorful yet approachable whiskey that works equally well for beginners and experienced drinkers. For the price, Arran 10-year-old offers impressive quality and complexity, making it a smart choice for anyone looking to explore good Scotch without overspending. 1. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old is produced by Distell Group at the Bunnahabhain distillery on the island of Islay in Scotland. Unlike many Islay whiskies that are heavily smoky, this single malt focuses more on rich malt character and sherry cask influence. It carries a 12-year age statement and is bottled at 46.3% ABV. In the United States, it usually sells for around $55 to $70, depending on the market. This whiskey is matured primarily in sherry-seasoned oak casks, which gives it a deeper and more layered flavor profile than many bottles in a similar price range. The nose often reveals notes of dried fruit, caramel, roasted nuts, and a hint of sea salt from the coastal environment of the distillery. On the palate, you will typically find flavors of dark chocolate, toffee, sweet malt, and gentle spice. The texture is rich and smooth, with a long, warming finish. Bunnahabhain 12-year-old stands out because it delivers complexity that you usually expect from much more expensive Scotch. The balance between sherry sweetness, malt richness, and subtle coastal character makes it very enjoyable to sip slowly. It is also non-chill filtered and naturally colored, which helps preserve its full body and flavor. For many Scotch drinkers, this bottle represents one of the best values in the single malt category, and a perfect example of a hidden gem worth adding to your collection. So, those are 5 Scotches that many drinkers may want to avoid, and 3 bottles that deliver far better flavor and value for the money. The truth is that the Scotch world is full of great whiskeys, but brand popularity does not always mean quality. Sometimes the best bottles are the ones quietly sitting on the shelf that most people walk right past. If you enjoyed this list and want more honest whiskey recommendations, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want to see more videos like this. And if you have a Scotch you think deserves to be on this list, drop it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Top 5 American Bourbons on the Rocks.